In Sweden, a new kind of barbecue is born. Not because of what's cooking, but because of how it's cooked. Instead of using charcoal, gas, or wood, this grill works entirely with the power of the sun. Around the cooking platform, 48 glass mirrors are carefully set up. Each mirror has to be moved by hand so that it reflects sunlight to the right spot. When everything lines up, the heat can reach about 710 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to cook meat and roast vegetables without smoke. Since the mirrors don't adjust on their own, someone has to pay attention to the sun's movement and keep them angled just right. It's a careful process that depends on clear skies. But when the setup is correct, the food cooks quickly. Meat sears right away, keeping in its flavor, while vegetables take on a sweet, roasted taste. This unusual approach ties into Sweden's growing focus on renewable energy. Last year alone, the country added 2.6 gigawatts of new solar capacity. The solar grill is a small example of how those ideas are making their way into daily life. What might look like a simple backyard activity becomes a way of showing how cooking can also be part of a cleaner future. Of course, the system only works when the sun is out, and that can be a challenge in Sweden's long winters. Still, it proves that even long-standing traditions like barbecue can adapt to modern needs. This device is an air-powered launcher with 4 barrels. Each barrel is made from 2.5-inch PVC and sits beside a 3-inch air tank. Compressed air is the fuel. When a barrel is chosen, a sprinkler valve dumps air from its tank into the barrel to push out a small, light projectile. The valves are switched electronically by an Arduino Nano. A battery pack powers the control board and the valves. Air is added through a standard Schrader valve, and an analog gauge shows the pressure. A plywood and 2x4 frame holds everything. The system can fire 1 barrel at a time, or several together. Because each barrel has its own valve, shots can be independent or synchronized. How far and how fast a shot goes depends on pressure, tank size, the projectile's fit and weight, and whether you fire single or multiple barrels. On the electronic side, the Arduino listens for trigger inputs and sends signals that open the solenoids. Those solenoids open the sprinkler valves, releasing stored air into the chosen barrel. Inputs can be wired buttons or a simple wireless option. The components are mounted on perf board, and the code handles button presses, timing, and basic safety checks. Think of the way a camera or an eye opens and closes to let in light. That same idea appears here in a window that acts like an iris, switching from wide open to fully closed. The main element is a circular iris window about 4 feet across, set into a front door. It has overlapping petals that slide together or apart to change the size of the opening. Inside, gears and levers coordinate the movement. At full opening, daylight pours in. At full closure, the petals meet and block outside views to provide privacy. Operation is mechanical. The motion feels rhythmic, and the petals form a clean pattern as they move. It echoes the iris seen in lenses and in the human eye, translating a familiar optical mechanism to the scale of a home. Beyond the movement, the idea invites practical uses. It can replace curtains or blinds by letting a person dial in how much sunlight enters. Different materials are possible: tinted glass to soften glare, metal for a distinct look, or smart surfaces that change transparency. There is also a visual character. The opening sequence recalls scenes from science fiction, like a circular gateway that reveals or conceals what lies beyond. Each finger of this prosthetic hand is built from fewer than 10 parts and moves entirely through simple mechanics. It doesn't need electricity, batteries, or software, which means there's no worry about charging, updates, or technical breakdowns. All the parts can be ordered from Amazon, and they don't require special tools or advanced manufacturing to put together. The result is a hand that can handle everyday tasks like gripping tools, holding objects, and keeping a steady hold with natural motion. The project took about 600 hours from the first idea to the finished design. The creator himself had lost a hand and first tried using commercial prosthetic called eye digits. He expected it to improve his daily life, but instead, he found it slow to respond, uncomfortable, and not very precise. Since his work depended on accuracy and speed, he decided to build something from scratch that truly matched his needs. With no professional medical team behind him, he relied only on his own mechanical knowledge. Unlike expensive prosthetics powered by motors and sensors, this one works through simple movement and careful alignment. If the development time is valued at $80 per hour, the total cost comes to about $48,000. That's still less than many commercial prosthetics, and in this case, it provides better comfort and function. This story highlights a bigger problem: the gap between what's available on the market and what truly helps. Here, one person managed to bridge that gap with skill and determination. Loading rifle magazines by hand can take a while, and it's tough on your thumbs. A simple wooden benchtop speed loader makes it faster and easier. You place the rounds in a channel so they line up, and then apply steady pressure to push them into the magazine. It works with common rifle mags, including those used on semi-auto platforms like the AR-15 that may hold more than 40 rounds. Because the ammo stays aligned, you get consistent results across multiple magazines. The body is just wood, no fancy machining. If the surface gets scuffed, a quick sanding and a fresh coat of finish bring back a smooth slide. Its compact shape doesn't hog bench space, and the design keeps the number of parts to a minimum. The device has a simple construction and is assembled with a standard set of carpentry tools. Detailed video tutorials on its construction can be easily found online. Next one starts with a simple frame that rides on 3 bicycle wheels. Power comes from 2 small engines taken from string trimmers. Each engine spins a propeller, and the propellers push it forward. It's unusual to use propellers this way, but here they act like fans, giving the push needed to move. There's also a shaped seat insert for the driver. The idea grew from frustration with slow city traffic. Instead of waiting in a jam, the builder asked what could be made from everyday parts. Bicycle wheels were chosen because they are light and easy to mount. The string trimmer engines show that tiny power sources can be reused for new jobs. Once the motors start, the propellers make enough thrust to roll along, even if the frame looks fragile at first. Making it work took time. The frame had to be balanced so it wouldn't tip. Wheel alignment needed tweaks to keep the ride straight. Propeller mounts had to be set just right so the push was even. After each small test, something was adjusted and then tested again. Step by step, the fixes added up. In the video, it grabs attention because it clearly works. The build favors creativity over polish, turning ordinary pieces into something simple and useful. This small kart is built to play where roads aren't perfect. At its heart is a 175 cubic centimeter 2-stroke engine that snaps to the throttle and pulls hard for its size. Power goes through a simple, proven gear shift taken from a Yamaha bike. The frame sits low, with a wide stance and cross braces. Steering is quick without being jumpy, letting the driver hold a slide and make neat corrections. With knobby tires, it grips grass, gravel, and dirt while allowing controlled spins and playful moves. From a technical view, this setup works on many surfaces instead of only racetracks. Because there's no extra weight, it reacts fast when you speed up, brake, or change direction. Every design choice aims to keep control as conditions change, so the driver adjusts less and enjoys more. In real use, it brings karting closer to home. Riders can practice in local open areas and learn by doing. You can test different gear ratios, smooth your throttle hand, and sharpen your handling through many short sessions. Each small change shows up right away, teaching how the mechanics and the rider's technique work together. The feedback loop is truly satisfying. A washer that runs without electricity. Instead, it uses a foot pedal system, much like the old treadle sewing machines. By pressing the pedal in a steady rhythm, the drum inside turns and agitates the clothes. You simply place garments inside with water and detergent, and the foot-powered motion cleans them effectively. Once the wash is done, the built-in drain system lets you easily empty the used water, making rinsing quickly. It works with normal detergents and fabric softeners, and it can handle both small items and bulkier clothing. The design is stable and can be placed on flat ground, whether during a power outage, in a cabin, or while camping. The washing action is gentle on fabrics, helping prevent the wear that electric machines sometimes cause. After a wash, a few more pumps of the pedal clear out the tub, leaving it ready for fresh water in just minutes. The project was completed in only 7 days by one person who was inspired by vintage pedal systems. It proves that a purely mechanical device, with no electrical parts, can still take care of an essential household chore. Since it runs on foot power alone, it provides a practical solution for places where electricity isn't reliable. People who have seen it note how useful it can be for off-grid living, emergency readiness, or simply maintaining routines when power isn't available. This small electric cycle car is a fresh take on the Bugatti Type 35, a 1920s race car. It's shrunk to about 83% of the original size, and its volume is a little under 58%. That smaller scale keeps it light, so a modest 2.2 kilowatt motor, about 3 horsepower, moves it. Electric motors make full torque from a standstill, so it feels lively at low speeds. Top speed is around 22 miles per hour. Instead of heavy software and 3D models, the builder went old school, sketches, hand measurements, and a 1:18 scale model on the desk. Proportions were tuned by eye to keep the early coach-built vibe. There were no formal blueprints, only reference shapes and a clear idea of how it should look and behave. The body shape came first. The frame followed that shape, and the battery and motor were sized to fit the final weight and use. Visually, it nods to the Type 35, with a slim body, exposed wheels, and that graceful curved grille. Still, it isn't a clone. The lines are remained for today, and the electric drive changes the experience. Quiet, smooth, and instantly responsive. It's easier to park, store, and thread through modern spaces, yet it still feels like a real car rather than a toy. Hungarocopter uses a 23-foot main rotor with a disc area of 416 square feet. You can choose between 2 engines, 125 or 160 horsepower, depending on how much performance you want. It can fly about 280 miles or stay in the air for roughly 2.5 hours. In normal use, that points to a practical cruise speed near 112 miles per hour, although weight and weather will change the actual numbers. It holds a special place as the first helicopter designed and built entirely in Hungary. It is sold as a self-assembly kit, inviting technically minded owners to take part in the build. A closed cockpit, 2-seat layout is available, making it useful for training, patrol work, or field support. Safety and ease of use lead the design. An electric rescue system stands ready for emergencies and can bring critical systems online with a single command, cutting workload when seconds matter. For safer ground handling on uneven surfaces or during slow taxiing, an automatic anti-tip system helps keep the helicopter upright. A movable fuel tank also shifts balance as loads change in flight, giving more predictable control. The structure and systems are simple to reach, so regular maintenance does not demand special tools. Builders who assemble the kit gain a deeper understanding of how each part works, which makes later inspections and repairs easier. This Swedish farm machine runs on a huge V12 diesel engine with a size of almost 39 liters. It's believed to be a tank engine, once made for military use, now adapted for agriculture. The engine produces more than 1,000 horsepower, giving it immense strength. Like many engines of its type, it likely uses turbocharging, direct fuel injection, and liquid cooling. To handle all that power, the drivetrain uses heavy-duty transmissions, big clutches, and strong hydraulics. Power reaches the ground through massive tires, spreading the force while protecting the soil. Because the engine makes strong torque at low speeds, it doesn't need to rev high to pull large tools or move heavy loads over rough ground. This power matches the needs of Swedish farms, which average around 89 acres. Farmers work long hours in changing conditions, so reliable and steady performance matters more than speed. Even the sound of the engine, deep and steady at idle, shows its hidden strength, waiting to be used. Unlike racing engines that peak at high RPMs, this one is designed to give dependable power for as long as needed. Although it started life in military vehicles, the engine has found new purpose in farming. Farmers need machines that won't quit under pressure, and this design delivers just that. People who watch videos of this machine often joke about its size, but most are impressed by how practical it is. What if Patrick Starr's goofy, friendly vibe hid a totally different version of him? Less cartoon, more clockwork. Those sudden bursts of strength, the way his eyes sometimes drift, even the little puffs when he's thinking hard, start to feel like clues. Maybe there's machinery under there doing its best to act alive. In this version, Patrick is a steam-powered build. His pink skin is a flexible shell that hides the valves and gears quietly ticking away. Inside, you can imagine neat rows of brass gears and tiny pistons keeping time with his every move. The steam that slips out isn't just power, it's effort. When he seems slow or forgetful, it's not pure silliness. It's a machine trying to copy human thought, slipping a gear now and then. His brain is a spinning core of cogs, each turn throwing a spark that reads like a feeling or a choice. And making him wouldn't take a giant factory. It would take careful hands, patience, and the right parts, layer by layer, springs, gears, a bit of resin set with light. You'd build not just the mechanism, but the disguise, so the whole thing passes as a living creature. Seen this way, Patrick isn't just comic relief. He's a prototype, where art meets engineering. The quirks become little glitches, the silliness a design flaw or two, and the whole character turns into something new. A playful blend of humor, invention, and imagination. A standard snapback cap has been turned into a wearable display by fitting an 8x8 RGB LED matrix into the front. This grid of lights can show small patterns, shapes, or animations in color, since each point on the grid mixes red, green, and blue. The display is mounted neatly into a cutout in the visor, held in place by fabric strips and screws. Wires run from the matrix into a flap inside the hat, where the rest of the electronics are stored. At the center of the system is the Adafruit Flora, a small round microcontroller made for wearable projects. It connects to the LED grid with just 3 wires, one for power, one for ground, and one for signal. A slim battery powers the setup, while a USB module tucked inside allows easy charging. The Flora is programmed using the Arduino IDE, letting users upload sequences of images or simple animations. The display isn't designed for high detail, but it handles well enough for simple visuals. Building the project involves some hands-on adjustments. Certain soldered parts of the matrix are reshaped to fit better, and electrical tape is applied to avoid short circuits. How long the hat runs on battery depends on brightness and animation complexity. Brighter, more active patterns use more energy, while simple, dimmer displays last longer. A river is more than just a peaceful view. Its steady flow can actually be turned into electricity. A small experiment shows how this can work. The first version of a homemade generator produced around 1.6 watts of power. That's not enough to run a house, but it can charge batteries, light up LEDs, or power small devices. The way it works is simple. The river's current spun a turbine, the turbine turned a motor, and the motor produced electricity. The second attempt took things a step further. Instead of making a new generator from nothing, the inventor used an old electric drill. The drill's motor was attached to a turbine that spun with the water. A gear ratio of 1:5 meant that for every turn of the turbine, the drill motor spun 5 times. This change gave the setup more speed and better output, all without making it bigger. The design still looked simple, but the performance improved. These small versions point to bigger ideas. A larger system floating on a wide river could hold a bigger turbine and a stronger generator. That would mean more electricity from the same natural flow. Adding a battery bank and a charge controller could also make it possible to store power during the day and use it later at night or when the water slows. That kind of setup could be useful for cabins, remote areas, or as backup in emergencies. One of the most interesting parts is that the materials were mostly salvaged. Old motors, scrap parts, and basic tools were enough to make it work. Sunlight may rule outside, but inside you can create a whole new mood with a cloud ceiling. It turns a plain room into a dreamy space. The setup is simple. You use about 10 meters of LED light strips, around 6,000 lumens, and last up to 50,000 hours. They dim and change color, so you can mimic sunsets, storms, or a gentle night light. On top of the lights, you spread fluffy polyester or polypropylene filling, so it looks like drifting clouds. Strong double-sided tape, hot glue, or staples hold everything to the ceiling. Start by deciding where it goes. The whole ceiling, or a zone over the bed or desk. Stick the light strips in straight lines, waves, or loops, depending on the look you want. Pull the filling apart and place it over the lights, leaving thin gaps so the glow shines through naturally. When you turn it on, warm tones feel calm and cozy. Cooler flickers suggest stormy weather. It's practical too. LED strips stay cool, and spacing the fibers lets air move. Skip hot bulbs and open flames to keep things safe. You only need basic tools and the adhesives. The result is all about atmosphere. A bedroom, studio, or creative corner gains depth and mood for relaxing, making art, or just a striking visual. Add music reactive effects, fake thunder, or glow-in-the-dark bits for extra drama. Even in sunny places, this gives you a different sky indoors, one you can change anytime. This DIY pond filter can handle up to 2,600 gallons of water. It works using a mix of simple mechanical and biological steps. At the center is a plastic barrel, the kind you can easily find in hardware stores. Inside, layers of filter, like bioballs, lava rocks, scrubbers, or mats, help clean the water. A pump pushes pond water through these layers, where dirt and debris get caught. Meanwhile, helpful bacteria living on the surfaces of the media break down harmful substances such as ammonia and nitrites. A more advanced version of the system adds a pre-treatment chamber to catch larger particles before they reach the main filter. It also features a glass viewing window, about 2 by 4 feet in size, making it easier to check the water flow and clean the filter when needed. What makes this system so effective is that it uses everyday materials instead of expensive equipment. For example, 300 bioballs inside the barrel create a huge surface area where bacteria can grow. These bacteria do the invisible work of turning toxic compounds into safer forms that mechanical filters alone can't do. The design is also flexible. Since the setup isn't locked into a brand-specific style, you can adjust it to fit your pond. You might add sponges to catch finer debris or use a stronger pump for more water flow. The upgraded version even cuts down on how often you need to clean it, because the pre-filter keeps the main chamber from clogging too quickly. There's something special about sitting by a fire. The warmth, the glow, and the sound of crackling wood have a way of bringing people together. This fire pit was made with that idea in mind. It measures about 5 feet across and 2 feet deep, giving enough room for a good fire while keeping it safe and easy to sit around. Stones were placed to form the circle. At the bottom, a layer of gravel was added so rainwater wouldn't collect, and small gaps were left to help the fire get the air it needs to burn. The process started with digging, which left behind more soil than expected. That extra dirt had to be managed, either moved elsewhere in the yard or taken away. Leveling the ground was an important step too, since a flat surface makes everything more stable. Each stone was then set in place slowly. The design itself was simple, but it looked good because of the attention to small details. Once finished, the fire pit turned into more than just a project. It became a spot to spend time with family and friends, and watch the flames after a long day. A few days of work created something lasting, useful, and full of atmosphere. The Phoenix 4 rocket is an impressive example of what determination can achieve. It can fly at speeds close to 900 miles per hour and climb up to 46 miles high. What makes it even more remarkable is that it wasn't built by a big aerospace company or government program. Instead, a small independent team developed its propulsion system entirely on their own. Its first launch took place on September 19, 2015. In just over a minute, the rocket soared 18.5 miles into the sky before coming back down. A parachute system guided it safely to the ground about 2 miles from the launch site. This design allowed the rocket to stay intact, making it possible to study and prepare it for future flights, something very important in rocket development. Nearly 3 years later, Phoenix 4 flew again. This time, it reached 46 miles, setting a record in amateur rocketry. Although it didn't cross the 62-mile mark that defines the edge of space, the flight proved the rocket could perform at near space levels. It remained stable and controlled from liftoff to landing, showing that the team's hard work paid off. The team built everything themselves: the structure, the engine, and the electronics, using trial and error to improve over the years. They carried out their tests in Nevada's Black Rock Desert. It starts with a hull built from wooden sheets and insulation panels, chosen to be strong yet light. The panels were measured and shaped, then glued with adhesive instead of screws. The wooden base resists vibration. Every seam was sealed to stop air leaks, and edges were rounded to help it stay balanced on its cushion of air. The skirt is key. It uses plastic-coated fabric that bends over bumps while holding air under the hull. This skirt traps pressure that lifts the craft a few inches, letting it glide without wheels. As it moves, the fabric flexes and keeps the seal so the lift stays strong. During tests, ordinary concrete blocks were used to tune the balance. By adding or removing weight, the operator found the sweet spot where it rises cleanly but stays stable. That simple step made control easier and movement more predictable. The craft works best at modest speeds on smooth ground, like short grass or a flat field. Those surfaces protect the skirt. When the fans spin up, they push a lot of air and get loud. The noise is normal. It takes energy to float. Power comes from an 8 horsepower Kohler single cylinder. A 1.10-inch carburetor feeds it, and a Peerless 1200 series transmission sends power to the axle. Steering uses a wheel taken from a greenhouse boiler. Seating is 2 wooden planks. Narrow-spoked Ford Model Y wheels from 1932 carry the frame. Most parts stay in the open, so the mechanical layout is easy to read. The machine blends traits of a tractor, car, and truck, and was assembled in the United Kingdom about 10 years ago. It runs with calm pull rather than speed. The gearing gives the small engine useful leverage for steady travel and light towing. Throttle, choke, and mixture screws sit within reach, and the AML carb responds to careful tuning. The Peerless ratios feel even and predictable, letting the engine work without strain at low pace. Pedals and levers move linkages you can watch, so the driver can trace how motion reaches the transmission. The greenhouse wheel has a solid rim that guides over ruts. The plank seats keep weight low and posture upright. Starting follows clear steps. Fuel on, choke set, then a pull or press until the single settles into an even thrum. A wood-fired traction engine is simple. Load wood into a firebox, the fire makes heat, and that heat turns the wheels. It uses external combustion. Some show pipes and a tall chimney, others hide compact burners. Fuel is usually dry firewood, but briquettes and charcoal also work, and often burn steadier and cleaner. Many engines carry their own supply, seasoning it as they go, so power and fuel travel together. These machines aren't built for speed. They pull small trailers and power pumps, threshers, or farm tools. Each reflects its maker: wheel size, chimney length, gear layout. Fuel choices shape impact. Responsibly cut wood is renewable. Briquettes reuse sawdust. Good charcoal burns hot with fewer fumes. The scale is close to hand. A fallen branch can be split and, hours later, burned to make motion. The driver feeds the fire, trims airflow, and listens. The engine answers with clanks, a low roar, and the smell of warm metal and smoke. Shields, insulated grips, and an extinguisher add safety. And here is a project from Germany that will please fans of fat bikes. It begins as an uncommon sight: a four-wheeled cargo bike designed to handle heavy loads while staying stable on mixed ground. Built in a small workshop, it rolls on wide, low-pressure tires. The handmade frame keeps things stiff, and the cargo deck is plywood sealed with varnish, chosen because it resists swelling, delamination, and sun damage. Power comes from two 500-watt motors that drive both wheels on one axle. Steering, often tricky on four-wheelers, is said to be light and predictable, similar to commercial quads. Stopping is handled by disc brakes at all four corners, which cut braking distance under load, balance forces in quick maneuvers, and keep control on long descents. A rotating barrel attached to a steel frame, powered by an electric motor, can be a simple but effective way to mix materials when regular equipment isn't available. Most setups use a medium-sized plastic drum, usually between 120 and 200 liters, and a motor with 1 to 2 horsepower. A reduction drive slows the motor down, so the barrel turns at about 20 to 30 revolutions per minute. The drum is balanced on its axis, so it spins without shaking. The frame is often built from sturdy iron to keep the structure stable, and wheels with a handle make it easier to move. A locking pin is used to fix the tilt of the drum during loading and emptying. Some helpful extras include a removable lid, internal paddles for better mixing, a drain for washing, and hose fittings to add water or rinse directly inside. The main purpose of this system is to mix small batches of concrete by combining sand, gravel, and cement. The slow turning speed keeps everything inside, while the paddles inside the drum help move and blend the materials. The same method can also be useful for farming tasks, such as mixing animal feed or fertilizers, and even for cleaning freshly harvested crops by gently tumbling them. Operation is simple, usually with just an easy-to-reach on-off switch to control the motor. Marble Roller makes a strong first impression through its smart, hands-on design. It stands 24 inches tall and runs on a track that works best with about 150 marbles. The frame is oak, so it has that classic wood look. Steel parts are fitted neatly to keep everything moving. Building it took nearly 80 hours, with many tweaks along the way, until the marbles rolled just right. When it runs, the rhythm is calm. Each marble is lifted, guided, and released, and then the pattern repeats again and again. The route has climbs and drops, a bit like a tiny racetrack. The motion feels like a loop of energy, where every section helps the next. Because the marbles are uniform and the path is well defined, the movement stays smooth and easy to watch for a long time. Oak gives a solid base and a warm, traditional feel. The steel adds precision and balance. Together, they look both classic and exact. As the marbles travel, you can see how carefully everything lines up, from the lift at the start to the gentle descent. What it does is simple. It moves marbles from one place to another. Yet it's surprisingly absorbing. You can watch the loop over and over without getting bored. A small team in the Netherlands is building a multicopter eVTOL that has grown from a rough idea into a working aircraft. Early on, it used 16 small propellers spread around the frame. Now it flies with just 4 rotors. That changes cuts down on wiring, parts, and weight, while still letting the craft take off and land straight up. Even though it was built in a backyard, it has already flown several times, proving that the motors and control systems do their job. The way the pilot controls the craft is changing too. Instead of a handheld controller, the team is installing a fixed dashboard. This gives the pilot a steady setup every time, paving the way for avionics later. They also added a shaped fuselage, which helps the air slip around the body and gives better places to mount gear. Around the world, urban air mobility is speeding up. The United States hopes to start early commercial air taxi service by 2025. While teams in China have run many test flights, some reaching about 81 miles per hour and logging well over 1,000 runs. In that big picture, this Dutch effort is small, but it follows a similar path. Remember the master who built a homemade off-road cart? This tracked robot is also his work. Instead of rubber treads, it rolls on bicycle chains, which are strong and easy to fix by adding or removing links. The frame blends metal with 3D printed parts. It's driven with a hobby remote, and a front camera streams live video for steering. Despite its size, it can carry the builder for short rides over bumpy ground. This build shows how everyday parts and simple methods can go far. Bicycle chains are cheap and easy to find, yet here they work as all-terrain tracks that bite into tricky surfaces. 3D printing speeds up trial and error, so the design can evolve without long delays. The result is a sturdy, adaptable machine. Just as important is steady improvement. Each tweak, tightening track tension, reinforcing the chassis, rerouting wires, teaches something new. As it stands, the robot crosses rough patches, hauls real weight, and follows commands. Future upgrades could add suspension, stronger power delivery, or weather sealing to push it further. Yet today's version already proven itself in real use. Next machine runs on a 22 horsepower engine and moves using dual Polaris snowmobile tracks. It's built for winter conditions, offering great performance where regular vehicles might struggle. The custom frame has the option to attach a front snow blade or add a tarp-style cover. Both can be installed or removed quickly, depending on whether you're clearing snow, carrying gear, or traveling through remote areas. The tracks are designed to spread out the machine's weight, giving it strong grip without sinking into snow or soft ground. This makes it easier to move over frozen lakes, bumpy trails, or narrow forest paths. The open frame has space for carrying tools, buckets, or sleds, while the tarp can be set up in minutes to protect against wind and snow. Switching between jobs is simple. The snow blade comes off easily, and the tarp folds down, so it quickly transforms from a snow mover into a hauler or transport vehicle. Built for cold, remote settings, it's ideal for hauling supplies, fishing trips, or clearing snow where wheeled vehicles can't reach. Some systems still need final testing, like steering, braking, airflow, and safety features. Even so, the core design is clear: a dependable engine, strong traction, and a simple structure built for multiple winter uses. From a few steps back, it looks like the frame is floating. You don't see legs, just a clean outline in the air. The trick isn't fancy. A short base sits tucked well inside the outline, so you can't see it unless you get close. That hidden base carries all the weight and keeps the frame steady from normal viewing angles. A strip of LEDs runs under the outer edge. When the room is dim, a soft glow spreads on the floor and makes a faint halo. The light helps the floating look and adds mood to the space. The strip is 5 meters long, has peel and stick backing, and comes with a remote, so setup is simple. Building the frame is basic woodworking. Use standard boards, screws, brackets, and wood glue. A drill is enough for the job, plus careful measuring and cutting. Size the top frame to your mattress. Make the base as a short box in the middle. Use brackets to join the top to the base, and you'll get a solid frame that holds up in everyday use. The look fits many styles. Leave the wood raw, stain it dark, or paint it to suit a modern or minimal room. Clean lines and open floor space make the room feel lighter and less busy. It's also friendly on budget. The boards in the original build were about $12 each, and the LED set about $30. An old porch or staircase doesn't always need to be torn down and replaced. Sometimes it just needs someone who knows what they're doing to bring it back to life. That's exactly what one Canadian builder does in a video series where he takes a worn-out wooden porch and staircase and completely rebuilds it. He starts by choosing the right type of wood, something that can handle changes in weather. He explains why some types of wood hold up better than others, and why getting the structure right is more important than just making it look nice. He doesn't skip over the hard parts. Instead, he takes time to explain things like how to fix framing problems, how to attach railings so they're safe, and how small changes in spacing can make a big difference later. He shares tips that come from real experience. Even things like board alignment and finish choices are explained so that people can understand not just what to do, but why it matters. What really stands out is how carefully he works through each step. He takes it slow, making it easier to follow along. The project, by the way, comes from Canada, where construction knowledge is abundant. This swing is made from eastern red cedar, a type of wood known for its rich color and ability to stand up to the elements. It grows in places like Missouri and Tennessee and has a natural resistance to decay, which makes it a good choice for outdoor projects. The swing hangs on strong steel chains that can hold up to 800 pounds, and the springs help soften the motion, making the ride more comfortable. The design is simple. Every part has a clear purpose. But what makes this swing special isn't just how it's made. It was built by a woodworker taking part in the St. Jude Dream Home Giveaway, a fundraiser that helps families of children with cancer by covering costs like travel, housing, and meals. In a video, the builder shows each step of the process, from cutting the wood to putting everything together. He explains things clearly, so even people new to woodworking can follow along. There's also a guide available to download if someone wants to try building the swing themselves. A wooden lattice wall became the backbone of this project. Each panel was cut to size, leveled, and fixed firmly into the ground. Extra vertical supports and corner reinforcements kept the structure stable, making sure it wouldn't shift as time passed. Once in place, the frame was strong enough to carry climbing plants that can grow several feet in a single season. The spot where it all began wasn't much to look at. It was a forgotten corner of the yard, covered in thick ivy that had been left to spread for years. After clearing everything away, what remained was a bare patch of ground next to the deck, waiting for a new purpose. When a neighbor offered spare lattice panels, the project suddenly had direction, without needing a costly renovation. Before setting up the panels, the wood was coated in a rich, warm stain. This gave the lattice both protection and a natural look that blended into the garden. Roses were planted along the base of the wall. Soon, the shoots started stretching upward, weaving themselves naturally through the wooden pattern. Week by week, the bare lattice softened into a living wall of leaves and blooms. This turf has FIFA approvals and can be used with recycled infill. Tough Group makes synthetic turf for many uses, from elite sports fields to home gardens. Blade heights range from about 13 to 50 millimeters. VMAX 40 and VMAX 50 use a dual yarn blend, so they feel soft but stay tough, and they're treated to resist harsh sun. For hockey and multisport areas, Fast Pro 13 and 18 have short, non-directional fibers, while Court Pro Signature is tuned for tennis with a predictable bounce. For landscaping at home or in public spaces, Signature Tough mixes straight and curled fibers in varied greens to look more like real grass. Every surface is UV stabilized and built with a triple layer to handle wear and last longer. Many models work with sand or silica infill. Some can be installed with little or no infill for special or low-care setups. Drainage holes in the backing help water run through, and a well-prepared base reduces puddles after rain. Installation, by a pro or a capable DIYer, means preparing the base, aligning rolls, gluing joins, fixing edges with nails or pegs, adding infill, and brushing the fibers upright. The turf is cut to fit, laid so the fibers run the same way, then topped with sand to improve play and appearance. It starts with a simple idea. Plastic objects are placed into a container where they move toward a spinning shaft lined with sharp blades. These blades chop the plastic into small fragments. The pieces then slide onto a short conveyor belt before dropping into a bin. A top-loading hopper makes the process safer, and a manual pusher helps guide bulkier pieces in without risking hands. The parts are basic: a motor, blades, and a sturdy frame, often built from reused found equipment. This shredder can handle many types of plastic: bottles, caps, food packaging, cups, containers, and even bits from old electronics. Once shredded, the plastic is more compact and much easier to reuse, melt, or transport. What makes this design special is its scale. Large factories use heavy machinery to process tons of plastic, but this device is meant for individuals or small groups. People often use the shredded material for projects like furniture, tiles, or artworks. Others gather it for recycling centers. Plastic waste is everywhere. It doesn't decay and piles up quickly. With a small machine like this, people can take action themselves rather than depending only on big systems. It's practical for schools, workshops, or community groups. By turning scrap into something useful, it gives people a simple but powerful tool to deal with plastic waste directly. A wooden lift built for roofing work shows how even basic materials can take on heavy jobs. It can carry up to 500 pounds and works with three main parts: the track, the carriage, and the hoist. The track looks like a long ladder made from 2x6s glued and screwed together, with cross braces to keep it straight and firm. The carriage, shaped like a sled, is made of strong plywood supported by 2x4s. Side pieces guide it along the rails, while smooth runners of hardwood or plastic help it slide. The hoist can be either a hand-cranked winch with a brake or an electric model. At the top, a pulley redirects the cable. A stop block prevents over-travel, and a shelf holds shingles or tools as they reach roof level. The lift is put together step by step. First, the track is assembled on flat ground with evenly spaced rails and cross-bracing for stability. A firm base anchors the bottom, while angled supports stop it from shifting. At the top, the pulley, stop block, and shelf are fixed. Now let's talk about a tractor. It is powered by a 16 horsepower diesel engine. With an adapter like the AMPK 500, it can be upgraded into a small seated tractor. The gearbox includes a very slow creeper gear for precise movement and a differential lock for better grip. It also has two PTO shafts, one standard at 540 revolutions per minute with the option of 900 revolutions per minute, and another to power the adapter. When paired with the adapter, the machine becomes a compact mini tractor with a seat, live axle, and reduction gearbox. Its wheelbase ranges from 47 to 59 inches, giving it stability. In heavy clay, steel wheels are often used instead. To improve traction, wheel weights of 22 to 66 pounds can be fitted on each side. The hitch works with common toolbars. The tractor can handle many field tasks. A single bottom plow cuts 7 to 9 inches deep and works best with a slight inward angle to stay straight. Rotary tillers cover widths from 24 to 40 inches, with counter-rotating blades available for tough soil. Two small but power engines, each with 7 horsepower, placed side by side. Together, they give this machine enough push to move its compact frame. The body looks like it was inspired by old armored vehicles, built with wide, flat panels and sharp angles. Scaled down to backyard size, it still carries that strong, classic look. The tracks wrap tightly around the frame, and even though there's no suspension, the machine manages to move over rough ground. Inside, the operator sits alone in a cabin that feels roomier than expected. Clear panels give decent visibility, though the openings aren't sealed, so it's best driven in dry weather. Starting it up involves firing both engines, adjusting their throttles, and steering, all tasks one person can handle. The sound is loud and mechanical, with the engines clattering in rhythm to each movement. From a technical angle, this vehicle isn't meant to be a replica or a practical ride. It's more of an experiment. It's about blending power, structure, and creativity into a working project. Its exposed parts and simple controls show exactly how it works, with no hidden layers between the driver's actions and the machine's response. Future upgrades could include a bogie system for smoother rides, sealing the cabin better, and linking the throttles to make managing the two engines easier.